As entrepreneurs, we typically find ourselves in one of two work modes. Either we're building something, either a new business or a new product line or a product launch, and we are totally engaged in what we're doing. And so we just want to work as much as we can productively moving towards that pursuit. Or the other mode is that we're in a maintenance mode and we have day-to-day procedures that typically are taking more time than we'd like to spend, and so we'd like to find a way to reduce our individual workload. So what I want to introduce to you in this video is a model I've created after working with lots of clients and finding the similarities on the ways to address both of these modalities with a common factor. So I call this the 4 foundations to creating a 4-day work week. The common factors to both of those situations is typically the owner of the business is working way too hard, probably working on things that are not essential for the business, and certainly not delegating all of the things that should be delegated. So the result of this is if you can accomplish those things, then you have the opportunity to put into practice the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. And the idea here is that if you can reduce your work efforts, your actual time by 20%, and you'll get 80% of the results of your business. And so how do you create a 20% reduction? Well, that's what we're going to look at here. And let's put this into perspective. What that essentially means is for most people, you can cut out 1 full day out of your week. So 1 out of 5 days, or if you're working incredible long hours, that still equates to reducing the equivalent of 1 week or 1 day out of your week. So let's take a look at the premise. Let's say you're able to reduce the way you're doing things now, reduce that by 20% or save a day. How do you apply these to the 2 different situations that I mentioned right in the beginning? Well, the first one is if you're in the ultra creative mode, you now have a day of your week that you can devote to the most important aspect of your business, which is that strategic planning, the creativity, the coming up with the ideas and the way to implement what you've set in motion that you're so passionate about. On the other hand, if you are in the mode of I'm overworked and I don't have time for other things that are important in my life, then what you're now able to do is to divert some of that time to family and other relationships, entertainment, things that are important to you, exercise, etc. Whatever it is that's not getting done because you were feeling overworked. So now let's just jump right into the model. Now we're looking at the infographic that I prepared that shows this model. And as you can see, there are 4 components to it. I wanted you to see it in aggregate and then we'll jump right in. We're going to go clockwise through this model and we'll start with aspect number 1, which is structure. And what I have found is that typically businesses reach a plateau in which they've had success, but they are having trouble breaking through to the next level. And that's typically as a result of not having proper structure and systems to achieve that success. And so essentially what I found is that you only need one system, and that is a project management structure. And this system has interconnected tools to direct the workflow and to make it all come together. So the core of it is a project management system that categorizes all of the tasks into a structure so that all the people on the team and all levels of the organization knows what needs to be done, when, and by whom. And then related to that, the other structures around that are time tracking software so that you have the ability to see who's doing what, and it also enables you to push forward to enable the payment structure for your business and paying staff and independent contractors. There needs to be a team communication portal by which everyone can communicate questions and progress where they stand. And finally, there needs to be a consistent way in which documents are stored and the people who need to get access to those documents have that access. And the protections piece of it is as employees and personnel come and go, that you can change those permissions. Now, naturally, we don't have time in this video to delve totally into all the mechanics of those aspects. That's what I do with my clients and with the courses that I do. But I will give bits and pieces of enlightenment on this on my Facebook page and profile, so stay tuned for that. Now let's turn to the team component. In order to be effective, the structure has to have a team that has been trained and optimized to work through that structure. So you want to assemble the best people to do that and develop that communication structure that I alluded to earlier for your organization that maximizes the efficiency and interaction of the team. Now, typically entrepreneurs say, I don't have time to train people to do what I do. It's easier to do what I do. But the reality is, if you shift your mindset so that you are training once, so either live with an employee or staff member that you need to train on a procedure to get it off of your plate, or the next time you do this procedure, make a video like a Camtasia video, screencast video, what have you, showing the specific system that you're going through and that you want to delegate. So the idea is to get into the discipline of training once, and I've just talked about the mechanics of that, and then keeping the team engaged. So this will not work if you as the owner are not able to keep your team engaged, buying into the vision, and have a structure by which they can know what it is that they're expected to do by when. Now that brings us into the next component of this, which is a leadership component. So this statement says it all. If you, the owner, establish clear direction, then your whole team will follow. So you cannot abdicate leadership. You cannot delegate leadership. And the idea is, the way that I work with clients is to put forth an individual in the company who is ideally suited via behavioral profile and aptitude to be the project manager, to run this whole thing. Because leadership, the leader of the organization, needs to be focusing on the vision. So even though that is true, that you as a leader must take the ownership and set the example for the whole organization, even if the mechanics are being run by a project manager and ultimately by the team. So what does this look like? Clear expression of the values of your organization from the top down. And then you as the owner making sure that you're monitoring the financials and key business metrics and staying on top of your business and sending directives accordingly. Making the good strategic decisions and implementation. You have to be a planner. And clear understanding of where you want to take the company. Have your exit plan and have everybody understanding where you're going and what the focus of the organization is. It's about transparency all the way through the organization. Now this then leads us to the final aspect, which is leverage. So what does it look like? It's when you have a highly trained staff who understands your vision from the last piece and working the project management system and then being engaged with each other via the communication system. So to achieve the ultimate leverage in your company, designate a project manager for the system. Match your people with the positions. Assess the proper behavioral styles. So you have a very detail-oriented person doing the finances, and you have a very outgoing person doing the sales marketing function, as an example. And then finally, utilize a subsystem to train staff how to utilize the various back office tools you've established. That goes back to the principle of look at it and do it only once. So if you make these videos and other procedures that new onboarded staff can follow, then they have a roadmap in order to do the things that need to be done, so it's not setting you backwards to reinvent that wheel each time. So if you want to create that result of reducing the time you spend by 20%, the equivalent of a day a week, for either personal other activities or for better planning for a fast-moving organization, you need the four elements we talked about: structure, team, leadership, and leverage. And ultimately, if you do that, you'll be putting in place one system with a good team to run it, and you'll reduce your time by 20% and be more effective in your life and your organization as a process. This is Minders Glover, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.